I was the legitimate daughter of the Marquis. Yet I was forced to marry a penniless scholar. The scholar lost his father at a young age, leaving only his widowed mother at home. After marriage, my husband treated me with cold indifference, while my mother-in-law made life difficult. My father, however, only urged me to endure and be dutiful, until I accidentally discovered that my mother-in-law was actually my father's former love. He had married me into his family solely to change the lineage of his beloved son. Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. Shut your mouth. You have no right to speak here. You lowly maid. A teacup flew through the air, smashing hard against Yanji's forehead. Tea and leaves trickled down her pale face, leaving a swollen red mark on her brow. Yanji bit her lip tightly, yet her back stiffened even straighter. I sprang to my feet. My mother tugged anxiously at my sleeve, her eyes pleading. My reason had long been consumed by the fire of rage burning within me. I paid no heed to her gaze. Yanji was my personal maid, having served me since I was 5. I had been married to Zhang for only 3 months when his mother demanded I give Yanji to him as a concubine. She claimed that since I hadn't conceived after 3 months, I should proactively arrange a concubine for Zhang. She added that she had specifically chosen Yanji to ease my mind. Yanji is my chief maid. Even as a concubine, she would undoubtedly remain loyal to me. I refused, but my mother-in-law went to my father to complain, accusing me of being jealous. That's why my father deliberately finished his duties early today, to settle matters for Zhang. Yanji grew anxious when she saw me rise. She banged her head hard on the floor, the sound muffled yet loud. Master, it is this servant who refuses. This servant refuses to be anyone's secondary wife. The young mistress, out of past affection, refused the mistress on my behalf. Hearing this, my father snorted coldly, his gaze fixed on me. The Marquis raised you for over a decade, yet you can't even command a mere maid? I lifted my head fearlessly, mimicking his cold sneer. When I was the legitimate daughter of the Marquis, commanding others was natural. Now, I am but the wife of a lowly scholar, of humble status. How could I dare to have any will of my own? Hearing this, my father's eyes widened in fury, his meticulously groomed beard nearly flying off his face. He slammed his fist hard on the table, making my mother flinch. You wretched thing! A man of Zhang caliber is more than worthy of you. Hatred boiled within me. My father seemed possessed, hell-bent on marrying me off to Zhang. Though he held only a minor post in the court, he was after all from a marquis's household, bearing a noble title. That Zhang had only his widowed mother. Even if he passed the scholar exam at 16, in this vast capital city, candidates for the provincial exams walked the streets like commonplace, and scholars were as plentiful as dogs. What did he amount to? When I married him, his small 2-courtyard house couldn't even hold half my dowry. Because of this, father had mother add a larger courtyard to my dowry. Now the Zhang family resides in that very courtyard. Zhang mother was a flower seller, and his father had run a cloth shop before his death. Among common folk, the Zhang family's circumstances weren't bad, but compared to mine, it was worlds apart. News of my betrothal caused an uproar within our clan. The clan chief and elders personally visited our Marquis, staying the entire day. In the end, the clan approved the match. Once the betrothal was settled, I never received another invitation to gatherings among the noble ladies. The aristocratic lady circle was strictly stratified. The wife of a mere scholar had no place mingling with them. Thinking of this, I lowered my eyes, my anger rising. That Zhang and his widowed mother, living off my food, wearing my clothes, now even trying to steal my man. How could I possibly swallow my pride? Wicked! Wicked! Father paced the room in fury, his sleeves fluttering like a storm, only deepening my irritation. Xian possesses innate brilliance, he'll surely pass the provincial exams this year. Once he becomes a Jiren, he may even seize the top prize. Then, as a Hanlon scholar, given time, he'll rise to Marquis or Chancellor, and your imperial decree of nobility will follow. You're so short-sighted. How could you possibly understand a father's heartfelt intentions? I was nearly laughing in exasperation. Father, the pie you're painting is too big. My teeth aren't strong enough to bite into it. You'd better keep it for yourself and eat it slowly. My father's rage boiled over. He glared at me, raising his hand as if to strike. I stiffened my neck and thrust my face right in front of him. Go ahead and hit me. If you dare lay a finger on me today, tomorrow I'll send people with gongs and drums to deliver your plaque. Forcing your daughter to take a concubine for her husband, you deserve the title of world's worst father-in-law. Madam! Yanji's shrill cry made both my father and me turn. We saw Mother collapse from her chair. Fainted. Mother! And so, the farce ended in discord. Sitting in Mother's room, I gazed at her pale, gaunt face, heartbroken and furious. She seemed thinner still, emaciated, her eyes sunken. My maternal family were imperial merchants. To secure this marriage alliance with my father, they deliberately registered Mother under the eldest wife's name, making her a legitimate daughter. Only after the wedding did my father discover he'd not only married a merchant's daughter, but a concubine's child. For the sake of those dozen ships of dowry, he pinched his nose and gritted his teeth, accepting the match. Yet he never once treated Mother kindly. Knowing she was in the wrong, and having been meek and submissive since childhood, Mother soon lost control of even her own dowry, handing it all over to my father. When the engagement was first proposed, I refused to agree. I cried. I screamed. I threatened suicide. I tried everything. In the end, my father had my mother sent to the country estate, claiming its tranquil surroundings would be good for her health. He said she would only be brought back when I married. My mother had always been frail and acutely sensitive to the cold. I knew that country estate, the winters there were bitterly harsh. I feared that if I continued to refuse the marriage, she might not survive the coming winter. Later, my father presented me with a thick list of my dowry, land holdings, estates, shops, and countless jewels and ornaments, a truly magnificent wedding trousseau. I thought that with such a dowry, even if the Zhang family was in decline, I could still live well. Unexpectedly, after the wedding, Zhang Xian treated me with extreme coldness. My mother-in-law also made life difficult for me in every way, constantly finding fault. The two of them pressured me daily to hand over my dowry. When I refused, they would frequently find reasons to complain to my father. This time, my mother-in-law had set her sights on the Golden Jade Pavilion in my possession. The Golden Jade Pavilion was a renowned jewelry shop in the capital, one of the most frequented places for noble ladies. It was also the most valuable shop among all my dowry items. My mother-in-law wanted this shop, but I refused to give it up. She then began arranging for Zhang Xian to take a concubine and even reached out to Yanji. A sudden chill on my face snapped me back to reality. My mother had awakened and was now gently stroking my cheek. I wiped away my tears and gave her a crooked smile. I wasn't crying. Tears are the most useless thing in the world. Because of this unpleasant incident, my father personally escorted me back to the Zhang residence, saying it was to offer an apology. Lazily leaning against the carriage, I watched Yanji grind her teeth as she rubbed an egg against her forehead. Yanji, do you think Zhang Xian saved my father's life? Yanji nodded, then shook her head. He probably saved the lives of 18 generations of our Zhou family ancestors. The girl made me chuckle, and the heavy gloom pressing on my chest lifted a little. With my mother weak and the mansion full of concubines, I'd grown into a hedgehog to protect myself and my younger brother. Anyone who tried to bite me would end up with a mouthful of quills. Battling wits with the Zhangs was hard enough. But my father kept sabotaging me. Yan Ji. Rest assured. I'll never let you become Zhang Ziyan's concubine. Yan Ji nodded earnestly. Miss. I believe you. My father provided me with a dowry of 10 li of red bridal finery. Yet he still held the deeds of all the maids and servants in the dowry, including Yan Ji's. My father's actions often gave me the illusion that I was adopted, while Zhang Ziyan was his true son. At this thought, I gave a self-deprecating chuckle. Zhang Ziyan bore a passing resemblance to his uncle, making him undeniably a Zhang family member. Ziyan, the matchmaking ceremony is next month. Are you confident? Though my father spoke to Zhang Ziyan, his eyes kept darting toward my mother-in-law. I observed them without betraying any emotion. Every time father came home to speak with Zhang Ziyan, it felt deeply unsettling. Zhang Ziyan followed my father to the study, leaving only my mother-in-law and me in the main hall. The matter with Yan Ji isn't settled yet. My grandmother, whose maiden name was Lu Sanyang, was only 36, past her prime yet still radiating charm. She possessed beautiful almond-shaped eyes that swept over people with a gaze so alluring it seemed capable of drawing out one's very soul. Her mannerisms often made me suspect she wasn't exactly a woman of virtue. I'm speaking to you. Did you hear me? Seeing my dazed expression, she shot me a displeased glare. Enough. You may leave. And she calls herself a noble lady. Not a shred of manners. She flicked her handkerchief and strode away. My curiosity grew, and I couldn't resist sneaking after her. The courtyard was vast. Though I'd brought numerous servants, they were no match for the Zhang household's sparse numbers. Before my marriage, the Zhang household had only one male servant and one maid besides Zhang Ziyan and his mother. The mother-in-law veered further and further off the beaten path, encountering no one along the way. She quickened her pace and soon arrived at the bamboo pavilion in the west courtyard. This two-story structure was entirely made of bamboo, the entire building, along with its furnishings and utensils. It was my favorite summer retreat. Cool and serene. But now it was winter. What was she doing here? Yan Ji and I hid in the bamboo grove, crouching outside the window, using the wind as cover. The window stood wide open. All we could see was lush bamboo filling the frame. Someone was coming. This was my first time eavesdropping. My heart pounded with nervous excitement. Third sister. Are you angry with me? That voice, my father? Yan Ji suddenly lifted her head, clamping her hand over her mouth. You won't even give my son a maid. Yet you have the nerve to show your face. Mother-in-law's voice was soft and coquettish, sounding less like anger and more like a tantrum. Father strode forward, his tone urgent. How heartless of you to say that. I provided Yunjin with 10 miles of wedding gifts. Do you think I did that for anyone but you? I blinked in confusion. Wasn't the dowry meant for me? I made this wedding so grand, wasn't it all for you? I owed you a grand wedding back then. Now, I've made amends for your son. Lu Sanyang fell silent for a moment, then sighed softly after a while. You and I were never meant to be. I've grown weary of this life of hiding. My father grew frantic. How can we not be meant to be? Once Yunjin and Ziyan have a child, it will be our own flesh and blood. Lu Sanyang seemed moved, murmuring softly. Hengling, do you truly wish to treat Ziyan as your own son? My father grew displeased. All these years, how I've treated Ziyan. How I've treated you, can't you see? Since Ziyan is your flesh and blood, he is naturally perfect in my eyes. I wish I could split my heart in two for you both. Next came the rustling sound of clothes being removed. Ugh! I couldn't hold back any longer and retched audibly. Who's there? Yan Ji's eyes widened in terror. She gasped, clutching her throat as she called out several times. There are always cats near this bamboo grove. Ignore it. Hurry up. The unbearably lewd sounds echoed intermittently. Yanji and I clamped our hands over our ears, gritting our teeth to keep those sickening noises from seeping into our minds. Before long, the sounds ceased. Surprised, I lowered my ears and exchanged a look with Yanji. That fast? My father dressed. His face sated, and left. Not long after he departed, Lu Sanyang sat by the window, gazing at the bamboo grove and sighing. Useless men. Yanji and I crouched on either side, not daring to breathe. Lu Sanyang sat for a while, the flush fading from her cheeks, then followed him out of the west courtyard. Yanji and I drifted back to our room in a daze, our minds elsewhere. Yanji. The water's overflowing! Inhong's startled cry made Yanji frantically set down the teapot and begin wiping the table. Inhong glanced at Yanji, then turned to look at me. Miss, what's gotten into you two? I opened my mouth to speak, but instead vomited all over the floor. The maids in the room panicked. Inhong dashed off to fetch the doctor, while Yanji helped me change clothes and wash my face. By the time the doctor from Tongji Hall hurriedly arrived, I was sitting there drinking tea as if nothing had happened. After taking my pulse, the doctor declared my liver fire was too intense, causing stagnation in my heart. My face remained impassive, though inside I sneered coldly. My dear father, what a splendid match he'd arranged for me. No wonder. From our wedding day until now, Zhang Ziyan had never once given me a kind look. His gaze toward me was icy and piercing, his disdain tinged with a hint of hatred. I'd never understood the source of that hatred until now. On our wedding night, he drank himself into a stupor, sprawled out on the bed. I sat alone before the twin wedding candles all night. I watched the flames burn down until the sun rose in the east. From that day on, Zhang Ziyan never shared my bed again. Yanji. Investigate. No further prompting was needed. Yanji understood immediately, nodded, and headed for the door. Madam, the lady requests your presence. The maid attending Lu Sanyang entered with lowered eyes and submissive demeanor. I hadn't sought her out, yet she came looking for me. Lu Sanyang lay limp against the soft pillows, not even lifting her head when she saw me. I didn't curtsy, instead lifting my chin higher. Lu Sanyang gave a cold snort, reaching out to pat the mother-of-pearl inlaid Nanmo box on the table. Her nails were a vivid, striking red, contrasting with hands as white and delicate as jade. I studied her closely. I had to admit, Lu Sanyang possessed undeniable allure that could captivate any man. Her eyes held a watery tenderness, her waist slender as a willow branch. Her chest rose high, her curves delicate and graceful. Though no longer young, lacking the fresh charm of a maiden, she carried the unique magnetism of a mature woman, like a perfectly ripe peach on a June tree. No need to pluck them, a gentle touch would send them tumbling down. Never mind. I'm in a good mood today. I won't bother with you. Lu Sanyang opened the Nanmowood box and waved a piece of paper before my eyes. This was Yanji's indenture contract? Had my father come today only to hand over all the servants' indentures to this vixen? Seeing my eyes red with fury, Lu Sanyang covered her mouth and laughed. Though you lack refinement, your father knows propriety. Yanji is mine now. Whomsoever I command her to serve, she shall serve. Lu Sanyang carefully placed the contract back into the Nanmo box, her triumphant expression impossible to conceal. Since you can't serve my son properly, I'll choose someone who can. Have Yanji's face unveiled today. Send her to Xian's chambers tonight. Seeing my lack of reaction, Lu Sanyang shot me a displeased glare. Enough. You're as wooden as a log day after day. Just looking at you hurts my eyes. Withdraw. I lifted my face and took a deep breath. Then, faster than lightning, I snatched the Nanmo box from the table and bolted. The maids in the room were stunned. Lu Sanyang froze for a moment before snapping out of it. Slapping her thigh. Are you all dead? Chase after her. Every maid and servant attending her in the room, except Chuanxing, was part of my dowry. In Hong pretended to chase after me but stumbled after just a few steps, clutching Chuanxing and unable to get up for ages. Lu Sanyang was furious, yet could only watch helplessly as I ran farther and farther away with the box. I dashed into the courtyard, locked the door, and refused to open it no matter how much Lu Sanyang wailed and cursed outside. Yan Ji paced anxiously inside. Miss. This can't go on. I pulled a copper basin from the corner and tossed all the indentured contracts inside. Yan Ji. Burn them all. Indentured contracts came in duplicate, one copy held by the master household, the other filed with the authorities. If lost, one could obtain replacements from the brokerage's original documents and other records. Yan Shi and her group of 68 women, their names were all listed on my dowry inventory. No one but me could replace these contracts. Rather than wait for my father to force me to hand them over, burning them all would bring peace of mind. After the divorce was finalized, I could slowly replace these contracts. Yan Ji's eyes flashed with resolve as she immediately produced a firelighter and set the contract ablaze. The clamor outside the gate grew louder and louder, until a cool, clear male voice cut through the din, drowning out the entire courtyard's commotion. Zhou Yunjin. Open the door. It was Zhang Zian. He had finally deigned to emerge from his study. I glanced at the ashes in the copper basin before rising to unlock the door. Zhang Zian bore a striking resemblance to Lu Sanyang, especially those alluring almond-shaped eyes, which added a touch of debonair charm to his already handsome features. Dressed in a light blue robe, he stood quietly outside. His long sleeves swayed in the breeze, like an immortal ready to ascend at any moment. I took a step forward, and Zhang Zian imperceptibly retreated one step back. He looked down at me from above, his eyes unmasking his disgust and contempt, as if I were a pile of foul-smelling garbage. Seeing his slightly furrowed thick brows, I suddenly understood his thoughts. Zhang Zian must have known my father long ago and was aware of the relationship between my father and his mother. Without my father's financial support, Lu Sanyang couldn't maintain her appearance. Zhang Zian couldn't afford to study at the finest academies either. He accepted my father's money and favors while simultaneously despising him for making his late father wear the green hat. After our marriage, he transferred all his loathing for my father onto me. He detested me, scorned me, and refused to touch me. 3 months into our marriage, I remained untouched. For a newlywed bride, this was a profound disgrace. He intended to exact 1,000-fold vengeance on me for the shame he believed my father had brought upon him. Those vile creatures. I shall take a concubine. It's not for you to decide. Zhang Zian spoke calmly, his voice carrying an authority that brooked no argument. I covered my mouth, laughing uncontrollably. Yan Ji and the maids behind me didn't know why I was laughing. But when I laughed, they laughed too. With so many girls mocking him at once, Zhang Zian could no longer maintain his composed expression. How dare you? What are you laughing at? All of you. Shut up. I waved my handkerchief and straightened up, fixing him with a mocking gaze. I'm laughing at you, little scholar. With your grand airs of officialdom, you don't seriously believe you're the master of this household, do you? My personal attendants were all handpicked by me. My mother was gentle and timid, and my younger brother was still too young. Father always treated us as if we were invisible. Back when the old matriarch was alive, our lives were passable. But after she passed, the Marquis's household descended into chaos. My mother, cornered by the concubines, could only retreat to her room to weep. If I hadn't grown sharp, I'd never have survived in this den of wolves. My father thought that after marrying Zhang Zian, I'd become a dutiful wife and mother. devoting my life to supporting my husband and raising children. He truly didn't know me at all. You. Zhang Ziyan's face flushed crimson with fury. Lu Sanyang stood with hands on hips, spittle flying as she shouted. Someone! Tear her mouth off. Silence fell over the room. All the maids and servants stared at their own toes. Not a single one responding. The atmosphere grew awkward. Madame Lu, both furious and flustered, shouted. Fine. Not a single one of you will obey me? Believe me or not, I'll sell you all to brothels. I scoffed and waved dismissively. Enough. Everyone, disperse. Go back to your duties. The servants scattered like birds and beasts, leaving only a few of us standing by the courtyard gate. Madame Lu stamped her feet, furious enough to make her face turn crimson. Zhang Ziyan shot me a cold glance before turning and walking away. Once he left, Chuanxing panicked and could only drag the cursing Madame Lu along behind her. Back in the room, my anger only grew. The legitimate daughter of a marquis's household, forced to marry the son of a concubine. Yan Ji. Summon every steward from both the inner and outer courtyards. When I first married Zhang Ziyan, even though he treated me coldly, I still longed for a good life. I assigned several exceptionally capable servants to his study and meticulously instructed the kitchen daily to prepare nourishing yet delicious dishes. With his imperial examinations approaching next month, I had hoped he would pass the provincial exams and rise through the ranks, just as my father had predicted. Though Lady Lu San always deliberately made things difficult for me, she was still my mother-in-law. She freely selected antiques and treasures from my storeroom to display in her own chambers. She demanded 2 bowls of bird's nest soup daily and over a dozen dishes, 6 cold and 6 hot, at every meal. And I had the kitchen comply. After our marriage, Zhang Ziyan and Lady Lu San began spending lavishly. Last month alone, Zhang Ziyan withdrew 500 taels of silver from the accounts. As for Madame Lu, a single set of jewelry cost 300 taels. Every penny spent came directly from my dowry. Zhang Ziyan devoted himself entirely to his studies, while Madame Lu was a pampered goldfinch. Beyond the cloth shop left by Zhang Ziyan's father, they had no other income. That shop yielded a monthly profit of barely over 10 taels of silver. 10 taels of silver? That was barely enough for a single gold hairpin for Lu Sanyang or an inkstone for Zhang Ziyan's study. They say it's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance back to frugality. I was eager to see just how difficult the days ahead would be for this mother and son. Early the next morning, while I was still having breakfast, Lu Sanyang stormed into my courtyard, accompanied by her maid, her expression fierce. Move aside. Don't block me. She shoved Yanji aside. Upon seeing the dishes laid out on my table, she flung her handkerchief aside and burst into tears. A dish of marinated goose feet, a plate of tofu skin dumplings, a bowl of bird's nest porridge, plus 2 refreshing vegetable dishes. Compared to her usual breakfasts, this was certainly nothing special. But this morning, her table held only a bowl of thin porridge, a small dish of pickled vegetables, and 2 plain steamed buns. You heartless little harlot. You feast on delicacies while feeding your mother-in-law gruel and bran. I'll go to the county office to beat the drum and cry out my grievance, accusing you of filial disobedience. I set down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth. Go ahead. Your son isn't here. If you wish to accuse me of disobedience, you must accuse him as well. The punishment for filial disobedience in our dynasty was severe. If parents accused their children of disrespect, the son would lose his official rank and be permanently barred from government service. On top of that, he'd endure 50 lashes. Husband and wife were considered one entity. Unless Zhang Ziyan was truly far away, Lu Sanyang could only accuse me alone of disobedience. Otherwise, if the daughter-in-law was unfilial, the son would inevitably bear responsibility for household management. Lu Sanyang froze. her eyes darting about as she resorted to stubbornness. I don't care. From now on, whatever you eat, I eat. Since you married into this family, everything belongs to the Zhang household. I shot her a disgusted glare. Beyond her skin, I couldn't fathom what my father ever saw in her. Before Lu Sanyang could start her tantrum in my room, 2 sturdy maids pushed her out. She was furious, yet powerless against me. After breakfast, I took the household ledgers to the study in the east courtyard. Zhang Xian wore a thick overcoat, yet still shivered uncontrollably from the cold. Though the study had underfloor heating for winter, the servant hadn't stoked the fire today. For better light, large windows spanned both north and south walls. With them open now, the northwest wind swept through the hall, turning the room as cold as an ice cellar. His hands were numb with cold, let alone reading or practicing calligraphy. Spotting me, he turned his head away, looking somewhat flustered. What are you doing here? Song Bai. Where have you been? Didn't I tell you no outsiders are allowed in my study without my permission? Zhang Xian called out loudly to the servant. Song Bai stood nearby, hands clasped, head bowed, not daring to utter a word. I sat across from him, clutching a hand warmer, and pushed the ledger toward him. I've come to collect this month's household allowance. Marry a man, clothes and food. Even if I don't need you to support me, you and your mother can't expect me to pay for your 3 meals a day forever. Can you? So whose family is this? Exactly? The Zhangs or the Zhous? Zhang Xian's jade-like face instantly flushed crimson. You're utterly vulgar. Though his family was poor, my father, that gullible fool, had supported him, so he'd never known hardship. Otherwise, given his family's means, sending a scholar to school would have meant the whole family tightening their belts. It wouldn't have been possible to raise him and his mother to be so delicate and pampered. Yes, you're not vulgar. You could probably live on dew. I flung the ledger toward him. These are your cloth shop's earnings and every single expense you and your mother racked up over the past 3 months. Income, 35 taels. You're spending 2,700 taels. Consider this money a loan from me. Here's the promissory note, sign it. Only then did Zhang Xian panic. He frantically flipped through the ledger, beads of sweat forming on his nose. What do you mean by this? You married into our family. Your money is naturally Zhang family money. How could I not use it? Shameful behavior truly runs in the blood, like mother, like son. I tossed another book onto the table. According to the laws of our dynasty, a woman's dowry is her personal property. Even if divorced, she may take it all. Zhang Xian stormed to his feet, not even bothering to put on his overcoat. He called his servant and stormed out. This is outrageous. I demand a divorce. I divorce you, this disloyal, unfilial wretch who disrespects her husband and elders. I scoffed contemptuously. TSK. Can't get his hands on the easy money, so he flies into a jealous rage. Our dynasty's laws state a wife who marries a poor man with wealth may not be divorced. Zhang Xian stormed off in such a rage he forgot his overcoat. Yan Ji watched his retreating figure with concern. I knew she feared he'd go complain to my father. Sooner or later, my father would come find me. You fool! Xian is destined for high office. Offend him now, and you'll never have a moment's peace. My father rushed over without even changing out of his official robes to lecture me. He slammed the table, smashed a teacup. His voice boomed so loudly it seemed it could shake the rafters. Hand over that indenture to your mother-in-law immediately, along with the deed to the Golden Jade Pavilion and the brocade cloth shop. Think long-term. Only when Xian prospers will you prosper. I stared coldly at this familiar yet alien man before me. As a child, I too had craved his attention. I diligently studied music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, read books and learned characters, all to earn a few more glances from him. I never understood why, no matter how hard my brother and I tried. His gaze never held a shred of satisfaction. Now I finally understood. Humans and beasts are fundamentally different. How could a beast ever regard a human as its own child? Beasts only love beasts. Seeing my sullen silence, my father once again played his trump card. Within 3 days, if you don't hand over the items, your mother will move to the northern manor in the capital suburbs. I flashed him a smile. Father, did you not know? Grandmother wrote that she misses mother. This morning, mother boarded the official vessel bound for Jiangnan. My father left with a dark expression. He was so deranged he forced his legitimate daughter to marry the son of his concubine. This matter, of course, would not be left at that. After forcing Lu Sanyang and her son to subsist on steamed buns and pickles for 3 days, she suddenly grew lavish again. Not only did she purchase 10 servants for the estate in one go, but she also set up a small kitchen in the courtyard. Little did she know, 2 of those servants were arranged by me. Though a widow, Lu Sanyang showed little regard for propriety. She was having an octagonal pavilion built in her courtyard. And lately, craftsmen had been coming and going constantly. Among them were 2 exceptionally handsome workers. The younger one, 18 years old, had fair skin, rosy lips, and pearly teeth. His slender frame resembled a lush, verdant bamboo shoot. The older one, 25, had a wheat-colored complexion. When he got hot while working, he liked to take off his outer coat, revealing only a vest underneath. His vest revealed well-defined pectorals and bulging biceps. Every maid and servant in the mansion found their hearts fluttering. They made excuses to visit Lady Lu's courtyard 800 times a day. Even the usually steady Yan Shi used the pretext of visiting sisters to sneak peeks for several days straight. Lady Lu herself lingered in the courtyard daily, sipping tea and singing songs. She didn't mind the cold, the wind, or the biting chill. Madame Lu was busy overseeing the construction of an octagonal pavilion. Zhang Ziyan, meanwhile, was busy frequenting the brothel. The 100 Flowers Pavilion had recently welcomed a new courtesan. Not only was she breathtakingly beautiful, but she also excelled at the Huxian dance. She wore a sheer dance skirt, revealing a slender waist that could be grasped in one hand. As she spun and danced, the bells dangling from her delicate white feet jingled softly. She not only captured Zhang Ziyan's gaze but also stole his very soul. Yet this courtesan treated everyone else with cold indifference, reserving her unique attention solely for Zhang Ziyan. Rumor had it that once, when she was harassed on the street, Zhang Ziyan had come to her rescue. While they were busy, my father was even busier. Serving in the Ministry of Works, he faced the Yellow River's breach this month, unleashing devastating floods. The entire ministry was swamped, leaving him no time to rest. He hadn't returned to the Zhang residence, or even the marquee, for half a month. When he finally made it home, trouble erupted at the most profitable shops my mother managed. The senior managers came knocking one after another, seeking his advice, leaving him utterly exasperated. Perhaps nourished by love, both Zhang Ziyan and Lu Sanyang had settled down. They rarely came looking for trouble with me anymore. Zhang Ziyan especially was nowhere to be seen, day or night. He seemed to have forgotten that in just a few days, he would have to enter the examination hall to prepare for the exams. Miss Yanji burst through the door, her eyes practically popping out of her head. Chuanxing sent word that Lu Sanyang's monthly period hasn't come this month. I sprang to my feet. How many days late? Lu Sanyang was pregnant, but was it from that fair-faced youth or that dark-faced man? I paced the room with my hands behind my back, growing increasingly delighted. Quickly, Instruct her kitchen staff to add pregnancy-preserving herbs to her soup every day from now on. Lu Sanyang was no spring chicken, this pregnancy needed careful tending. After his exams, Zheng Zian looked as pale as dirt. He lay at home for a full week before regaining any semblance of his former self. On the day the results were posted, both Lu Sanyang and I went to see. Even my father sent a trusted servant to check. The crowd surged before the imperial notice board. Shoulder to shoulder. Lu Sanyang tried to push forward but accidentally stepped on a woman's foot. Seeing the woman's plain clothes, she sneered with disdain. "Move aside. You look like a pig butcher, and you dare dream your family produced a top scholar?" That woman was Hu Ernyang, the butcher from the east side of town, notorious for her fierceness. Without a word, she thrust her arm out and shoved Lu Sanyang aside. "You blind whore. Who do you think you're insulting?" The sun shone brightly today, warming the air. Yet Lu Sanyang was bundled up thickly. The crowd pressed in, already making it hard for her to breathe. This shove sent her reeling, and she immediately blacked out. Hu Ernyang froze, then leapt back a step, screaming at the top of her lungs. "What are you doing? You phony scoundrel! Everyone saw that. Spit! Don't you dare try to extort money from me." Two women bickering, one of them so strikingly beautiful, instantly drew the attention of everyone nearby. I pushed my way through the crowd, shouting with feigned concern. "Mother-in-law! Are you all right? Mother-in-law?" My wedding had been less than half a year ago. The eldest daughter of the Marquis's household, adorned in a 10-mile-long red wedding procession. Marrying a penniless scholar, it was the biggest sensation in the capital this year. Many recognized me, hearing the crowd say I was the eldest daughter of the Marquis of Anping, with Lu Sanyang as my mother-in-law. Hu Sanyang immediately panicked. "Miss Zhou, I truly didn't strike her." Hu Sanyang was sweating profusely with anxiety. Her eyes darted around until they landed on a familiar face in the crowd. Dr. Zhang from Tongji Hall stood nearby, arms folded, watching the commotion. Hu Sanyang rushed over in a few quick steps and grabbed Dr. Zhang's sleeve. "Dr. Zhang, please come quickly. Is this woman trying to frame me?" I only nudged her shoulder. How could that knock her out? With everyone watching, Dr. Zhang didn't refuse. He knelt to take Lu Sanyang's pulse. After checking it, he sighed in relief. "She's fine. She fainted because she's pregnant." The heat made it hard for her to breathe. I breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good. Pregnant? Pregnant?" My voice rose shrill, piercing the sky. After Dr. Zhang pinched her philtrum twice, Lu Sanyang slowly regained consciousness. Hearing me mention pregnancy, panic seized her. "Nonsense! You old quack! How dare you slander me? It must be you. You've all conspired to frame me. I might as well die." In her panic, she began hurling accusations wildly. One finger, besides pointing at me, nearly jabbed into Hu Sanyang's forehead. Hu Sanyang flew into a rage, grabbing Lu Sanyang by the collar. "Spit! Shameless slut! I don't even know you, yet you dare falsely accuse me. Come, we'll go beat the drum at the magistrate's office right now and see who's really making false accusations." I scrambled to my feet and grabbed Lu Sanyang's clothes. "Let go of my mother-in-law. Stop this." In the struggle, Lu Sanyang's thick cotton coat tore open, revealing her close-fitting undergarments. She'd gained considerable weight recently, and the garment clung tightly to her form. A faintly rounded belly emerged, clearly 2 or 3 months pregnant. The crowd erupted in commotion. Countless people surged forward, eager for a glimpse. Good heavens! Wasn't this scholar's mother a widow for years? Oh my! Oh my! This is something new. A widow pregnant? I've never seen such a thing. Lu Sanyang was so mortified she began to cry. covering her face with her sleeves and trying to flee. But today was the day the examination results were posted. The crowd was already dense. And outside, layers upon layers of people had gathered. Her delicate frame was no match for the throng. She couldn't possibly push her way through. Make way, everyone! I stood expressionless in the crowd, watching as a squad of constables, led by my father's servant, pushed through the crowd with great effort. Miss Jo is truly pitiful. Look. She's completely distraught. Who wouldn't agree? Not only did the eldest daughter of the Marquis marry down, but she ended up in such a disreputable household. Rumor has it the Marquis of Anping forced her into this marriage. What was he thinking? Did Zhang Zian pass the imperial exams? Pass? He hit the jackpot. He's been spending all his time at the 100 Flowers Pavilion. Word is the courtesan there is pregnant. Oh my! Double good fortune. Mother and the mistress both pregnant, now that's rare. Hearing this, I could no longer hold back and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Amidst the gasps of the crowd, my eyes closed and I collapsed to the floor. Miss. She's gone. Yanji brought over a bowl of bird's nest soup and gave me a knowing wink. I shot upright, grabbed the bowl, and drank it all in one gulp. Putting on that act nearly killed me. Have all the clan elders been summoned? Yanji nodded solemnly. Everything's arranged. They're waiting in the bamboo pavilion for the meeting. I hurried to the pavilion with Yanji. No sooner had I sat down than more people entered. The pavilion was divided into 2 rooms by a screen. Anyone who glanced twice would have noticed something amiss. But they didn't look. You wretch! Speak! Whose bastard child is this in your womb? My father slammed Lu Sanyang onto the bed, his voice brimming with fury. Lu Sanyang clutched his sleeve, sobbing. Hengling. This is your flesh and blood. Hengling! Hearing this, the clan chief nearly cried out. My hand shot up to cover his mouth just in time, preventing us from alerting the enemy. Paw! A sharp slap echoed. I've practically been living at the Ministry of Works lately. When would I have time to come here? The doctor said you're over 2 months pregnant. How dare you claim this child is mine? My father's emotions shattered. He didn't hear the clan chief choking on water or Inspector Lu's suppressed coughs. Rage consumed his reason, transformed into a roaring emperor. His every word dripped with blood as he denounced how decades of devotion to Lu Sanyang had been wasted. He accused himself of draining the Marquis coffers to fund my dowry, all to provide Lu Sanyang and her son with a life of luxury. He accused himself of emptying his personal savings to prop up the Zhang household after I seized the dowry. He said he hired renowned tutors for Zhang Zian and made arrangements everywhere, while neglecting his own son at the Jiangnan Academy. He said he gave my mother's dowry shop to Lu Sanyang to practice her skills. A once thriving shop, after she took over, was riddled with losses, closing 7 or 8 branches. He also said the 100 acres of prime farmland under Zhang Zian's name were originally all under my brother's name. The clan chief could no longer contain himself. His aged legs moved with unprecedented agility. He rushed out, leaped up, and slapped my father twice across the face. Shut your mouth. My father froze, clutching his face in a daze, his eyes vacant. Clan chief, what are you doing here? I stepped out from behind the screen, gazing at him with contempt and disgust. Not just the clan chief, Imperial Censor Lu is here too. Lu Sanyang's face was swollen like a pig's head. 2 teeth knocked loose. She cradled her face, weeping, her mouth filled with blood. This year's most outrageous case in the capital was undoubtedly the one involving my family. His Majesty decreed that Zheng and I must annul our betrothal. Not a divorce, nor a repudiation of marriage, but an annulment. In our dynasty, it was unheard of for a betrothal to be annulled after only half a year. His Majesty declared that since Lu Sanyang was a concubine of the Zhou family, this marriage violated propriety and could not stand. All dowry items were reclaimed, and Zhang Zian must compensate me with 1,000 taels of silver. My father was stripped of his official position, and his noble title passed to my 13-year-old brother. Too ashamed to leave the house, my father drowned his sorrows in drink daily. Zhang Zian shut himself away to study. I heard he bought abortion medicine for Lu Sanyang and forced her to drink it. Later, they sold off ancestral property and left the capital. Yan Ji, my chief maid, would remain utterly loyal to me even if she became a concubine. As for Lu Sanyang, now forced to work for her livelihood, she's become gaunt and haggard, aged a dozen years overnight, her former beauty utterly lost. Yet after all this, my reputation remains tarnished. Matchmakers seldom came calling. I spent my days managing household affairs, quite content with the peace and quiet. Miss Yan Ji arrived breathless, her face flushed crimson from running. Master fell today. After the fall, he can't move half his body. The doctor came and said it's a stroke. Hurrying to the main hall, I found my father lying in bed, his mouth twisted, and I ask you. Sighing, I took his hand. The mansion is too noisy. Father, you should go to the North Mountain estate to recuperate. The surroundings there are serene, perfect for you. My father opened his mouth, saliva trickling down his face. I gently wiped his face with a handkerchief. Someone, prepare for departure immediately. Spring had arrived, and the crabapple blossoms in the courtyard were about to bloom. The end.